Italy. Have you heard of it? Of course you have. Of course, because of the history, the tourism, the food, but people do actually live here. A lot of people. Rome is very big. So let's see what Rome would look like if you want to live here.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kalie, and this is Expats Everywhere Explores, the channel that brings you information and experiences from foreigners living all around the world. On the river Tiber, about 15 miles inland from the sea, the city of Rome has been developing for millennia, growing and changing with the world at large until it became the modern metropolis that it is today.
When thinking of Rome, many people probably think of its history, monuments, and architecture, right? Well, there's a good reason for that popular image, since the city is really chock full of ancient and beautiful landmarks with famous sites around every corner.
The Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, the Pantheon, the Spanish Steps, the Catacombs, the Forum, it goes on and on and on. And we didn't even mention Vatican City. Just to list all the highlights, this video would have to be like hours long.
Truly, there is no way to overstate just how culturally rich and steeped in history this city is. And while there is a seemingly endless supply of museums to explore and history to uncover, Rome is also a thriving modern city with all the activities and amenities that you'd expect from a major metropolis.
If you're looking for more modern entertainment, there's a large zoo, several amusement parks, and a number of shopping malls around the city. As the capital of Italy, Rome serves as a hub for all sorts of industries, housing lots of luxury brands and fashion designers.
Of course, we couldn't forget the famous Roman cuisine. There are many local Roman dishes to capture the attention of any foodie, from more well-known foods like pasta alla carbonara and fresh pizza, to more hidden gems like soupli, a fried risotto ball, or oxtail stew.
If you ever need a break from Italian food, this is a global city, and you can always try some of the thousands of restaurants serving flavors from all over the world. And after enjoying all of those tasty dishes, what could be better than a refreshing gelato as you walk around the city and enjoy the Mediterranean climate?
You might want to bring a raincoat with you in the winter months though, since it can be a bit rainy and cold when temperatures drop to lows around 37 degrees Fahrenheit. But don't worry, Rome gets its fair share of sun in the summer, seeing average highs around 88 degrees and very few rainy days.
As well as the winter weather, Rome's massive size might be a reason to forego your walking plans. Rome is a sprawling city, but the good news is they have really good public transportation. They've got trains, metros, buses, trams, and then you also have the option for a ride-share type thing like Uber, but it's like more like taxis, so that's a little different. But you can get on public transportation very easily here. And a single ride will cost you around €150, while the unlimited pass is around €35 per month.
You could also choose to drive your own car, of course, but Rome can be a bit tricky to navigate and can be a pretty stressful area for non-local drivers. This can also vary from neighborhood to neighborhood though, and since the location that you choose definitely plays a big part in the side of the city that you see, areas like Testaccio and Trastevere will show a much more energetic and entertainment-focused image. The quiet family neighborhoods of Otiense and Prati.
If you're looking to come to Rome with a family, there are great schooling options, both within the Italian system or one of the many international schools in the city. There are bilingual schools as well as ones using the British, American, or other systems, so there should be an option for everyone.
Beyond schooling for kids, Italian language classes would definitely benefit adults hoping to move here, since the language barrier outside of the tourist areas might cause some problems in day-to-day life. About 35% of Italians can speak English, but learning the language is still pretty useful, especially when looking for a job here.
Lining up a job in Rome can be a good step to getting a visa to live here, but apart from being an English teacher, English-speaking jobs are not particularly easy to find. Without speaking much Italian, your best bets will likely be in the tourism and tech industries, since these are generally pretty international.
The visa system in Italy generally requires that you live in the country for 5 years on a temporary residence permit before you're granted a permanent residence permit. After that, anyone hoping to get Italian citizenship will need to wait another 5 years before they're eligible to apply.
But is it cost efficient to live in Rome long term?
One thing I've noticed since being here is just how expensive things are compared to other cities that we've traveled to in Europe. I do love Rome, but Rome does come at a cost, and therefore you might need to be earning a bit extra to be able to survive here.
Yeah, on average, the cost of living in Rome is about equal to Berlin and around 12% cheaper than Amsterdam. For reference, a meal at an inexpensive restaurant in Rome will charge generally around 15 euros, and a meal for two at a mid-range restaurant will be 65. A bottle of wine in a grocery store would be about 5 euros, and a liter of milk about $1.50, and a loaf of white bread goes for roughly 2 euros.
Medical costs are also rather affordable, as Italy's healthcare system ranks as one of the top in the world and is funded by taxes taken directly by employers. If you don't qualify for this or want supplemental insurance to cover other medical costs, there are private insurances available. There are also multiple international hospitals in Rome where English is more widely spoken, and you may have an easier time navigating as an expat. With Rome being a capital city, let's check out real estate prices.
Rome's average housing prices aren't as steep as one might guess though, with rental prices averaging out slightly cheaper than cities like Lisbon. A one-bedroom apartment in Rome charges roughly 1,100 euros per month, while a three-bedroom space might ask for 2,100 euros.
A city rich with tradition, history, food, and fun, all at a pretty average price. It sounds like quite the utopia, but is it worth the bustling crowds of tourists and the other problems that come with big city life? And our big question, as always, is, would we expat Rome?
All right, so let's give our opinion now on what we think about Rome. We've been a ton. It's actually your favorite city to visit?
Like one of them, yes. I mean, I think I can't have a number one exactly, but it's definitely in my top 5 of favorite cities everywhere in the world. And we've been to over 90 countries, so we've been to a lot of places. And I do love Rome. I always say I love Rome to visit. I would never live there. And I think it's because of the tourists and the craziness. However, the last time we were in Rome, we decided to stay in an area and more of a neighborhood, so we could get into the bustle quite easily. But we were outside, and it was nice. It was nice.
It was nice. It was Bologna, right? That was the name of the neighborhood.
Yeah, not
there's
the
a
city.
Bologna city, but there's
like,
the name of the neighborhood's Bologna. Okay.
That's nice.
So I have a lot of opinions on Rome. I have visited Rome at different stages of my life, and it's a city that, like, it changes, your perception of it changes, I think, as you age. And it's like wine. It's like a fine wine.
Oh, okay. So it gets better with time? So as you're older, you like Rome more?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I think also as we've started to earn a little bit more income and we've been able to take advantage of certain things or not had to worry about certain things like taxis, for example. I hate having to pay huge taxi fees. Yeah. But when you're making a little bit of money and you're having to pay a huge taxi fee, it hurts way worse than when you're making like a decent income and you're having to pay a taxi fee that is higher than where you live. Like, we currently live in Portugal right now where taxis are cheap, but going there and having to pay like double, it doesn't hurt as bad as when we were younger.
when we were broke. Yeah. But if you're living there too, obviously the public transportation is really good, so you don't necessarily have to use taxis. Right. And it's probably on like every once in a while you have to. Yeah. Now, of course, that too, taking into consideration, like again here in Portugal, because it's quite affordable, we can just be like, well, let's just do that because it's practically the same as if the two of us or a couple, like four people were
on the metro or bus.
Right. So it's definitely different there. So you probably want to take it less, but it's got really good public transportation. You can walk it. It's easy to walk, but it's so big that you're probably just walking around your neighborhood. You're not walking to places.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, if you're a tourist, then you'll walk your legs off trying to see all the things in Rome, as we said in the video.
This is a lot.
But if you're living there and you're walking your neighborhood, and I find Rome to be very, very walkable, then everything's kind of in your 10, 15, 20-minute radius.
Yeah, you have everything you need, so you wouldn't really need a car. And honestly, like, when you first move there, you'll probably go to all of the tourist things. You want to see everything because of the history and the beauty, but you're not doing that on a regular basis. No. You're probably only doing that when people come to visit you, which will happen, I'm sure, if you live in Rome. So
whether you like it or not, people are going to visit you. They're going to knock on your door and be like, hey,
show me the Colosseum.
You have a couch to crash on?
Yeah.
Now show me the Colosseum.
Yes. So, I mean, you'll want to see those things, but I think it actually would be quite easy to get away from the tourists if you wanted to. Only do that every once in a while. But let's talk about the food.
Oh, man. I mean, the food across Italy for me is a huge winner. If you say, you know, you can only have 3 cuisines for the rest of your life, Italy's sliding in my top 3.
Italian food, yeah?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. And I'm not talking just about pasta and pizza.
Right, because there's definitely a range of things that are really good.
There's a
Italian
variety
food
of dishes.
overall is good. So good, fresh, but then also like we said, I mean, it's a huge city. You can find any type of cuisine that you want there.
And some cuisines that you don't even want, you can find it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that you hadn't even thought that you wanted to try, so you could try something different.
Yeah.
You know, prices will vary depending on how much you're spending, so
Prices
you want to
will
take
vary.
that as far as your cost of living and your budget.
We're big coffee fans, so like specialty coffee. So if you want to drink like commercial coffee in the regular cafes, fine, it's good.
Drinkable.
Well priced, drinkable. But also if you go into the specialty coffee scene, yeah, you're paying more. But there's quite a lot going on there in that scene.
They do have a good scene. And then of course we have the gelato.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
Gelato.
Really, really good.
I find ice cream in general, or gelato, I'm just gonna use the generic term ice cream. I find ice cream in general in Europe to be nicer and more prevalent than in the States.
You see them just in like the actual cases, like you see them all over the place. So not like ice cream bars that you'd buy like in a box at a store or something like that. But like you walk around cities and you get a lot of places like cafes or bakeries or something that might have like the ice cream sitting out.
Well, and this was the point I was gonna bring up, and I think that's cool. But also in Italy, you find a lot of dedicated stores that are just for gelato, and it's fantastic.
And because it's so big there, they try different flavors. So you can of course get your regular
like
normal
flavor combos.
Yeah, normal ones, but then you can find some really cool like just different types. You thought, I didn't think that those two would go together. Let me try that. And it's good. It's good. They know what they're doing. Anyway, so food definitely. Okay, well, I think, are we at that time?
Yeah, I think we're at that time to ask the question, would you expat that? And that basically means, would you want to live in Rome for a couple years, like something more medium term, not for the rest of your life, but just a couple years?
Yes, I think if you would have asked me this a couple years ago, I would say no, because I was worried that if I lived there, it would ruin the city for me because I love the city so much. However, the past couple years, we've been there a couple times. We've seen a different side. We've decided to do a little more local, and I would say yes. I would definitely expat Rome. You?
Okay, I'm gonna say no.
Oh, okay, so we're living in different cities. Why not?
If I'm gonna choose an Italian city, it's not gonna be Rome. I really like Italy. I think there's a lot of positive things about Italy. But Rome's too big for me. I feel the crush of the people. I do agree that there are certain neighborhoods that you can live in and just be there. But yeah, there's a dynamic about Rome that just seems a bit too busy and chaotic, and maybe I don't jive well with capital people too.
Yeah.
Like in any capital city now that we go to, it's I don't
go,
know.
go, no time to
the
talk.
The mentality of
and,
people is just, it's a bit fast, it's a bit hurried. I did speak to a guy in a cafe. He's Roman, he's from there. And even he was kind of like, yeah, we're getting there in terms of like being fully like kind of a modern city and full on. And I started to think about it and started to see the city in a different way based on the conversation I had with him. And I get what he's saying. There are certain aspects of Rome that it's such a big name in the world of cities, major cities. But there's aspects of it that just, they don't quite function properly.
Right. I mean, there's so much history to it as well, so maybe they haven't caught up to more modern things.
It's a very difficult thing for me to explain, but I understood what he was trying to say when he said it, and then I started to notice it. But yeah, so those two things, I would just choose another Italian city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to compare Rome to another European city, then check out this video right here, and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get moving.